All right, let's see how the RX6600 does in this game. We're going to start out at 1080p. I'll show you the settings. We're going to test out all the settings, presets. We'll do some FSR, and then we'll also try jumping up to 1440p before we're done. I am running the game in DX11 mode. I tested out the difference in performance on DX12 in a short video and settled on DX11. So there's the settings. And here we are. So it looks like we're in the low 40s right here outside of the ship. But you can see that in motion, especially as we get into all this foliage, we can see that that performance can drop a bit. This game is extremely demanding. But at its maximum settings, and notice this is no ray tracing. I'm not going to try to do ray tracing on an RX 6600 in a game that's already this demanding. But it is really actually quite nice looking. As we turn the settings down, what I don't like is that I feel like the game doesn't handle... So some games go more gracefully into lower settings. Let me put it that way. When you get down to the really low ones here, starts to look pretty, well, a lot worse. Anyway, let's try out some FSR while we're still on the maximum settings, see if that can do anything for us. So let's go to the Ultra Quality. The sharpness defaulted up to like 97% or something like that. I've tried pulling it down a bit. We'll kind of stick it in the middle. I know some people like a sharper image, some people don't. Okay, this has us up here in the mid 40s. The thing about FSR at 1080p though is that even at ultra quality, you can really tell there is a loss of resolution. It can sometimes be worth it, but at 1080p, I'd usually use it as more of a last resort if lowering settings to an acceptable point isn't getting me there. However, this is a lot more playable here, although as you can see as we get up here in the hill with all these shadows and things, we are still dropping into the 30s. Let's try some more aggressive FSR settings, just for fun. We're doing a testing video, so we might as well test some things. All right, going down to quality, when I'm standing still, it's like sort of okay, but I feel like as I move around, you can really see in the grass especially, that it's a lower res image that it's trying to edge detect and like stick back together, So yeah, at higher resolutions like 4K especially, even 1440p to a certain extent, FSR quality can be a bit more acceptable, but 1080p it's a bit rough. Although it is helping the performance stay in the 40s a lot better here. But we're still not hitting any really good frame rates. Let's go ahead and try going down to balance. Now, again, I don't think I would really use settings this aggressive. But hey, let's just test them out. Going up here into this difficult area, hey, we did stay above 40 this time. That's something, I guess. Okay, and let's go ahead and try out performance mode on FSR. Now we're into full on, it's an oil painting smeared kind of upscale. And we're still not hitting 60 FPS at Epic settings. This game can be a bit brutal. Okay, well, I think I'm going to have to do a restart after I change the settings, because almost all the settings in this game do require a restart to take effect. So we're going to go down to the high preset, and I'll see you in a second after a restart. Okay, we're jumping in here at high settings. It doesn't look like I can control the day-night cycle. I feel like the lighting feels different now than it did when we were on the Epic settings. Performance does seem better. Let's go ahead and double check I got all the settings right. So we are here on high settings, currently with FSR off. Let's run around here, do a little loop through the brush. Looks like we do drop into the 30s still. Note the RAM usage is quite high in this game. The system requirements put the RAM usage, minimum RAM in this game at 16 gigabytes. I'm on a 32 gigabyte system, which is the recommendation. I'm curious how the game runs for people on an 8 gigabyte setup. Okay, let's go ahead and switch to, actually, let's kick on some FSR real quick. I wouldn't really go past Ultra Quality in actual usage. Okay, it looks like we're, still not that great here at high settings, even with FSR on Ultra Quality 1080p. So let's try switching to medium and do a restart. Okay, we are now on medium settings, and I apologize that the lighting is getting different as we film this. I don't know this game well enough to know if there's any way to just like sleep till daylight, but we're gonna go ahead and soldier on with the video. We are still not hitting 60 FPS. Let's check our settings. So this is still 1080p. We are now on medium settings. And you know what? Let's try kicking on some FSR to Ultra Quality. Again, even that's pretty rough here at 1080p. Although is that finally getting us to 60 FPS? Not here in the underbrush. Wow, this game is dark at night. I mean, I guess that might make sense for a survival game, but wow. Anyway, if you guys can see anything, there we are. There's a deer running around. Okay, well, it might be pitch black by the time we do it, but let's test out low settings. Well, is there any point testing out low settings when it's nighttime? Well, we're gonna do our best because, like I said, I don't know how to make it daytime, guys. But hey, there we are at low settings with no FSR. Hey, that moon looks kind of pretty, or planet, or whatever it is. So hey, nighttime looks nice. Now we're at the low settings, which is, and maybe nighttime is actually helping it look better, because do you guys notice how few trees we see now? And look at that pop in. So one of the main things about the low settings in this game is it really just like stops drawing the grass. And like, look at these bushes. It's not just that you're having trouble seeing them because it's nighttime. It's just that they aren't there until you walk like 2 feet away from them. You can check out my GTX 1060 video if you want to see it happen there as well, and that time in daylight. But anyway, all right, so I even saw it drop below 60 there for a split second. And again, this is a RX6600 on low settings. Let's go ahead and kick on some FSR to Ultra Quality. I think with that on, we can at least actually stay above 60 all the time, which is kind of nice. Yeah, at the thing is, the low settings, the pop-in is just so bad. This game looks cool, but to get it to playable frame rates on a lot of people's systems, you're gonna have to have the view distance so bad that this pop-in is gonna be incredibly distracting. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and test it out at 1440p. I don't think we'll be able to hit 60 FPS reasonably, but with FSR, I'm hoping we can at least do like some kind of playable frame rates. Let's go ahead and test it out. Okay, after a lot of clicking on buttons in the menu, I figured out how to start a new outpost or something. Prospect, I don't know what it is. The point is, it's daylight now, which is what I wanted. And we're at 1440p, and we are on the Epic settings currently with no FSR. So, as you can see, we are not even able to maintain 30 FPS at these settings, but man, the game at its maximum settings, and now especially at 1440p, it does look pretty good. I don't think it entirely justifies the performance. I wouldn't mind if the performance was bad maybe at the maximum settings. I just wish it got better as you lowered them, considering how much worse it looks as you lower them. But anyway, so obviously we can see that you can't hit 30 FPS maxed out at 1440p. I'm curious if FSR can get us there, because FSR does a much better job at higher resolution. So FSR Ultra Quality here, let's kick that on. Okay, the grass doesn't look too terrible in motion or anything. And I feel like we're now actually hitting that 30 FPS mark, which I know isn't like everybody's thing, but you know, if you want the game to look really nice and you're okay with more of the cinematic experience, it doesn't feel as bad as it could. Notice the frame time graph, like it doesn't have too many huge spikes or anything. So there's something to be said for a smooth 30 FPS that's pretty consistent versus one that kind of jumps around and stuff. I actually would deem this maybe playable. And we'll try turning down some settings, maybe even some more aggressive FSR, because again, Ultra Quality looks pretty good here at 1440p. Going down to Quality, now I can definitely start to see the rocks a little bit blurry here compared to native, but I mean, could be a lot worse, although our, the performance doesn't seem like that much better. We're still in the 30s. So I'd probably stick to the Ultra Quality. So if I was, let's go ahead and test out some of the lower settings though. Let's go down to high settings, turn off the FSR for a second, test out high settings at 1440p. And I'll have to do a restart and see you in a second. All right, we are now at the high settings, so 1440p high settings, no FSR yet, although we'll probably test that out. Okay, standing still and looking around, we seem to at least be able to maintain 30 FPS. Let's see if that continues to be the case as I run around. Okay, now at high settings, you can definitely tell that I'm not seeing the grass as far away as we did at the Epic settings. But even without FSR, the performance is now feeling like a pretty much locked 30 FPS. Looks like we dip a little bit below. But again, if you're looking for 30 FPS experience, this might actually be the way to go. You could just play at native resolution, 1440p, high settings. The game does look pretty good. And the 30 FPS feels smooth enough to me that you actually could play the game this way if you had to. Let's try Ultra Quality though on the FSR. Still looks pretty good. Ooh, and now we, well, drop down a bit, but it's hard to see the difference between this and native. It's there, but this still looks pretty good. Again, high settings, and we're now at least spending some time in the 40s, although when I'm running around, it's more like the upper 30s. So, yeah, not bad. Now we can try going down to medium settings, see if we can get a better frame rate, but as that view distance lowers, the game really starts to look significantly worse. So let's try it out though. All right, we are down to the medium settings, 1440p, medium preset, and no FSR yet. What kind of performance are we hitting? Well, look at how little grass there is compared to what we saw on the higher settings. So the world definitely feels a lot more open and empty. Like it really feels very different. This is why I don't like going down to the medium or low settings. And man, as you can see, the performance here is still rough. We're still slightly dropping below 30 as we get here into more of the brush. Looking out at a more open scene here, is it any better? I mean, not a whole lot. I feel like medium is looking significantly worse without performing all that much better. Let's go ahead and try out FSR Ultra Quality. And, well, again, do you guys feel like the performance here is that much better than when we were on the high setting? I really don't know. It's not that much, and I feel like you can just see things draw in as you go here, and it's really distracting. You don't see as much going on out in the distance. I'm not a fan. And we'll go ahead and try out low settings, even though I think they're gonna look pretty bad. All right, here we are at 1440p low settings. What is going on with these weird shimmery looking shadows? I saw this when I was playing around on my 1060 a little bit, and on that card I could turn FSR on and the shadows stabilize, and then I can turn it back off and they're stable. So I don't know what that glitch is, but that seems to help. Now at low settings, this almost feels like a completely different game. Like, it's just with this draw distance. I mean, look at the pop in. It's just so distracting. It's just really disappointing that this game can't scale better to low settings, because this really doesn't look good at all. And we're still under 60 FPS. I mean, I know it's 1440p, and the RX6600 really isn't marketed as a 1440p card, but at low settings that make this big of a compromise, it's kind of disappointing. Let's go ahead and, what is going on with the shadows back there too? That's weird, look at that. Anyway, let's go ahead and kick on FSR and see if we can hit 60 FPS at low settings at 1440p. Okay, so it looks like if you're willing to kick on FSR to Ultra Quality and run at low settings, we can get 60 FPS in this game, but the pop-in is going to be really distracting. The lighting is so much worse. The world just feels completely empty now. Instead of feeling like I'm in a dense forest with lots of foliage, I feel like I'm in like an open plain with a few trees. But then it's weird because as you walk towards those trees, there slowly starts to be more. Look at those boulders pop in. The low settings in this game are not great. Okay, well there you go. There's the performance in this. I might also test it out on my RX6800 XT if you're interested. Keep an eye out for that video. Have an excellent day.